Here I'll demonstrate the function of this SRT201 Minolta 35mm SLR equipped with the 50mm MD Rocker X faster f1.7 lens. They made them faster than this, but this was really good. I can say from personal experience that the first serious camera that I ever worked with was a Minolta SRT201 with this exact lens back in 1979. I've taken thousands of pictures with the camera set up identical to this, and this is one of the great classic fully manual SLR cameras built like a tank. This one is probably from the 70s. It's one thing to note about the 201s. They cheapened them at the end, and they took out the CLC metering, and they cheapened the metering a little bit. So if you're looking for a 201, find one that says CLC right there. The 201 was based on the famous 101 from 1966 when that originally came out, and the 201 is in almost all respects a better camera than the 101. Notable improvements are the addition of the hot shoe, a much more comfortable film advance plastic tip, a little bit different and I think easier to use stop down preview button. You just push it and hold it and then you release it. The 101 had a locking type. You'd have to push it in once and then you have to push it in again. The only disadvantage of the 201 is that most 101s, except for the very last ones, had a mirror lockup switch right here. The 201 does not. I've never used mirror lockup in my life on any pictures I've ever taken, so to me that's not a big deal. But if it is, be aware of that. Otherwise, to me this is the perfect student manual camera. Great viewfinder. You see the shutter speeds displayed along the bottom and a nice needle match system for setting exposure. You don't see the aperture in the viewfinder, but otherwise this is just a fantastic camera. Let's demonstrate the function here and just see as I take off the lens. Let's step down through these shutter speeds. That was 1,000, 500, 250th, 1/25th, 60th, 30th, 1/15th. And now we're getting down into the zone where cameras that don't work very well anymore are typically very sluggish here, but this one is still really good. Here's an 1/8 of a second, here's a 1/4 of a second, 1/2 of a second, and 1 full second. That's just about as smooth as these were when they were new. Let's do that one more time. And the bulb setting, where it will stay open as long as I hold the button down. Let's set this back to a higher shutter speed and test the self-timer. And the mechanical self-timer works great. The aperture follower ring is free and works properly. Let's look at this lens. Stop it way down and look inside. Aperture blades are very quick and snappy. That's really nice. It's very clean and clear. I looked through a bright light and looked through this one, and I was very impressed by the clarity. I didn't see any fungus. The filter thread is undamaged. That looks really good all the way around. Nice clicks on the aperture settings. Focus is just as smooth as I remember on the one I used. Very nice. Mounts properly. And if we look on the top here, the counter's been working. We set the ASA right here with this little dial. Lift this up. That's fine. The rewind crank is in good shape. It's a metal, heavy-duty one on this model. The back looks good. And we'll pull up on the crank to open it up, and we see inside. Here's the shutter. The curtains look good. They seem to be working just great. If we go across here, the film advance mechanism is working properly. The pressure plate looks good. Looking at light seal material, that feels pretty good. Just the slightest little bit of residue on here. I would say this one is going to be just fine for a while yet. Now, if you're going to have it into a shop to be serviced for something else, you might want those light seals renewed, but it's pretty good. Back closes properly. If we look on the bottom here, this is where we turn on the light meter. It's got a battery check setting, and an off and an on. And this one I did put a battery in and verified that the meter does respond to light. It seems like it's just fine. The only thing to keep in mind with this camera is that it took a battery that is not available in the voltage that it originally was, and so people that use these cameras have had to figure ways to deal with that. You either have to use a different battery with a little adapter to get the right voltage, or have the meter recalibrated for the slightly higher voltage of the current version of the battery. Or just remember about how far off it is and set your settings accordingly. Except for that, this is, I would say, far better camera than a Pentax K1000 or many of the ones that are highly thought of for students. And I say that from personal experience because this was just a fantastic camera to use. It's built like a tank, and it's just heavy duty. This one's in quite nice shape. I see a little nick right there, just a little bit in the finish. Not a big deal. I don't see any dents. This one doesn't look like it was ever mounted on a tripod because there's no scuffing around the hole down here. So that's really nice. It comes with this fancy, I would say kind of a 1970s style strap. A little bit of wear on it, but it's still, it's a stylish looking thing that will look good around your neck. So, that's a pretty nice example of the SRT201.